Hello, my name is Jay, and welcome back to my Tech Vault. Today we're going to be talking about Wi-Fi. Now, before everyone goes on a rampant comment streak down below, please let me explain. First off, I'm not making this video to say that Wi-Fi is better than Ethernet. While they both have their perks, Ethernet is the clear winner in speed. If you are watching this video to figure out how you can make your internet substantially faster or more efficient, or I guess a better experience, then Ethernet is the thing for you. But a majority more of people, I guess, have the problem where Ethernet is not an option. Either it's a shared Wi-Fi point, for example, your whole, you use a public kind of Wi-Fi option that's shared between, multiple people, and you don't have direct access to it, so therefore you can't, of course, do Ethernet. Or you have some other circumstances. Maybe you have a device that you bring, you're bringing your laptop or your portable computer or something like that to another location, and you just can't always ask for, of course, an Ethernet port to plug into. So what we're going to be talking about today is how you can get the most out of the Wi-Fi, not necessarily the argument of what's better, because we all know clearly what's better, and that would be my first recommendation for anybody that wants to figure out how to make their internet substantially faster, how to get the most out of their Wi-Fi. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, obviously, Wi-Fi is only as fast as your ISP will allow, which is basically your internet service provider. So if you're, getting only, I used to get like only a megabyte per second, which I know sounds crazy, but things have changed. A lot of things have changed, and it's a lot better now. But for example, it was only a megabyte per second, and that was, of course, multiple years ago too. So don't freak out. And so, if the ISP only has that much of a speed, or that only allows that much speed in between them and your router, it's not going to benefit too much no matter where you put your device. Obviously, Wi-Fi, basically the perks of Wi-Fi is that, of course, you don't need a direct connection, but the cons, of course, is that your device and your router constantly have to be talking to each other, and sometimes the signal gets dropped. Sometimes there's some things get corrupted and they have to resend it. So there's a long list of things that happen, whereas Ethernet is just a direct line, and a lot of those things don't happen. You don't have to constantly be talking back and forth to the same extent as you would with Wi-Fi. So you basically end up trying to, of course, with Wi-Fi, have a lot more time spent doing things that are not transferring data. So some of the things that, from my personal experience with using some of the wireless devices, especially for some of the portable computers that I've worked on, some things like that, is a couple things. Is first, number one, location to the internet, or your internet, I guess, whatever's doing the wireless network. Not internet. That's an interesting way of putting it. So you're basically whatever's providing the wireless part of your internet. The closer you get to it, the better. Now, obviously, that kind of runs in the same situation, though. If you can't get direct access to your router, you probably cannot get as close as you'd like, of course, to get full use of the Wi-Fi. Now, a couple things to keep in mind is you can get a really, really long Wi-Fi antenna, or you can get one of the really nice Wi-Fi adapters that basically, that's mostly for desktops, but allows for a much larger antenna to pick up and send signals. That is one way to do it. Another way, of course, is to have as close of a direct line of sight as you can. And what I mean by that is, if your router is, or the router that you're talking to, whatever you're connected to, is maybe 3 walls from, if you were to count, if you were to try to look at the router and you could count how many walls in between, try to limit the amount of walls. Now, I know this sounds weird and stuff, but the difficulty for signal to kind of get through all those is, of course, difficult. So when you start removing some of the walls that blocking the signal, it makes it causes a few less problems and allows speeds it up a little bit. Now, obviously, there's another thing to consider as well, is that when some people, for example, you have to really think about what you're thinking, really define speed. So, for example, I used to have a wireless network up here because in my work area, my studio, not really, I used to always have my videos uploading wirelessly. Now, my example of this would be is that I had, of course, using the wireless connection. I don't anymore, but the problem would be that I'd be uploading something. My internet speed was, of course, capped at something like 12 some megabytes per second upload, and so it was always capped there. And obviously with Wi-Fi and Ethernet, it's still that way, but Ethernet has, of course, a substantial increase. Now, obviously, I can't end up moving my devices And so, for example, like my phone up here, that the Wi-Fi is very, very thin, I ended up getting an extender, or in this case, a Wi-Fi hub. Basically extends the Wi-Fi up here, so it moves the signal closer if possible. That's another way you can do it. Of course, if you do have that ability to, extend the Wi-Fi, then, as I said, get a switch, which is basically a Ethernet extender that allows you to plug in there, and you would have less problems as well. A couple other things to note, as I said, besides getting better internet or Wi-Fi equipment on your device or your computer. Limit the amount of walls you can get. And of course, another trick that I found is if you lower a device closer to the ground, and if you have the ability to raise the wireless access point, I found for some odd reason it actually ends up working a lot better than before. And that's usually in the case of like if you have something up high, if you have like your Wi-Fi in like one of those that has a wire and you put it up high, it actually does end up working. The lower you put it down, as long as it's not like blocked by anything, or as I said, the wall rule kind of like not blocked by a computer or something, it actually ends up working slightly better, which is kind of contradictory to what you'd believe. But that's pretty much my tips. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, and as always, check out my channel for other cool tech-related news, reviews, builds, etc. And thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.